guest today, the mayor of Rochester, and I don't think that he realized that the State of the City address to the Kiwanians in January, after he's been in office for 27 days, was part of his job description. But fortunately, he said yes. I do have inside information that last week he was at the mayor's school, and so he knows everything there is to know about being a mayor. But he has some thoughts for us. I know there's some things that have started happening already. In his past, he's also been a city councilman and been very involved in the community. So with that, help me welcome Mayor Ted Denton.
Good afternoon, folks. Thank you for inviting me here today. Yeah, I was at mayor's school, and this isn't part of the speech. Just as an observation, everybody asks you all the time, well, what have you learned? What do you know? What have you learned about being the mayor? And I've been really hung up over the title mayor because I've been Ted all my life. And Mayor Thomer up at Warsaw, you know, he's an optometrist. He's a doctor. When I met him, I said, you know, Joe, I'm going to call you Dr. Joe instead of mayor because you went to school for 20 years to get that title. The mayor title, you won an election. And he says, you know, you're right. You're absolutely right. Well, one thing I have learned, though, in being down in Indianapolis and around with a few of the mayors is when that title is put on you and it's followed by Rochester, Indiana, that's who you become. You're no longer Ted. Because when people talk about you, they don't end the conversation with, that's Ted Denton. They end it with, that's the mayor of Rochester. It comes with a high responsibility, and it certainly comes as, for me, it's a privilege to represent and honor the citizens of Rochester. With that being said, Ronald Reagan, good Republican, once said, the 10 worst words a taxpayer can ever hear is, hi, I'm from the government. I'm here to help. So hopefully, when I'm finished today, none of you feel like that's the case. I want to thank Brian and the Kiwanis for having me here today. The annual State of the Address, I know of Rochester, is something you do every year. And actually, for those of you who didn't know, it's a statutory requirement that the mayor do every year. Usually you give him a little more time in office. But I do thank you for inviting me today. Also, I've invited several people from the city because what I found out in the 3 weeks I've been involved, a lot of citizens don't know who we are at the city. So I've invited some folks here today, and I want to thank these people publicly. We've got our Chief of Police here today, Andy Schatz. Our Fire Chief, Tom Butler. Operations Manager, Warren Lease. Our Street Supervisor, Lenny Conley. And Supervisor Derek Holloway from the Water Department. And our Wastewater Treatment Supervisor, Randy Williams, here. I might say this is the second time in my life I've been in a situation where I'm working with a Williams. I worked with Earl for years and years at Torx. That was a great experience. There's a lot of pressure on you, Randy. He was quite a guy. Thank you, too, to my colleague, Shada Beeler, in the clerk's office. Shada, there she is. In less than a month, she's shown me how extremely valuable she is, and look forward to working step in step with Shada to move Rochester forward. She has the same dreams and thoughts. Like to recognize my Board of Works members who are here today. Rick Figlio. And John Little, the Democrat part of our Board of Works. And by the way, folks, this really makes me nervous. Can't we find a chair for the Democrat chairman back there? Oh my. Phyllis, I hate to see you standing. No hard feelings, Phyllis, okay? The two Board of Works members are extremely important, gentlemen. As I mentioned to you the last time I was here, they are 2/3 of the team that takes care of the statutory issues and has the statutory powers for the city. So they actually help run the day-to-day operations of the city. The city council deals with finances and the establishment of the ordinances, but it's the Board of Works who gets into the nuts and bolts of things. Those of you may have heard it's been reported elsewhere that I've been doing ride-alongs with our police officers, and so have the Board of Works, by the way. So we're getting to know folks. The Board of Works folks are backing me up and expanding on the new mantra that we're bringing to the police department. And Chief Schatz has embraced this mantra and has been very supportive to protect and to serve. You're going to see that on all the police cars. There's several of them that have it on there right now. So that's our new motto in Rochester. We'd like to, at this time, recognize Terry Lee, Fulton County Economic Development Director, and Amy Rowe, our Chamber Director. I refer to these two as 2/3 of the marketing team for Rochester. We're very excited about the direction of Rochester and where things are headed. And I'd like to take this moment to publicly recognize and thank Terry for his efforts in resolving 9th and Main Street. That has been done. Terry, stand up. Job well done. That has been, as you know, a blight on this community for 4 years. So good job. And it was not an easy job, I know that.
And it's not over yet, but go ahead.
Well, really? Really? Terry, tell me it isn't so. No, I understand. There are other things yet to do. There's a program in place, there's some discussions on what's going to happen next with it, but it has been sold.
Yes.
And that's a huge hurdle. Thank you, sir. And then Amy, I'd like to say some things about Amy. Oh my gosh, what an ambassador for the community. She has been a breath of fresh air. She went with me last Friday to Warsaw. We attacked your community there, fellas, so don't, is it Mr. Dobbins, is it? Dave?
Dick?
Or Dick? Mr. Dobbins? We were in Warsaw last Friday to the Ivy Tech Manufacturing Center. What a facility. Wow. We saw about 30 CNC machines, mills, and lathes under one roof, and 122 students learning how to become very skilled CNC operators. People with no skills coming in the front door and after a 2-year program leaving and taking jobs in the orthopedics world for $32 an hour. These are young people who've decided they have some mechanical skills and aren't necessarily ready to sign up for a 4-year college degree that's going to saddle them with a $60,000 debt when they come out, and are devoting 2 years to that type of a program and making really good livings. And the message they left us with from Rochester is this facility is underutilized. We're looking for more students all the time. So we're back here and we're going to the schools and we're going to go to anybody who will listen and say, hey, there's opportunity there if you want to go and get a decent education that's going to pay you something in a couple of years. So the other thing that impressed me that day was how Amy embraces everybody she comes in contact with. And we made a lot of contacts. The OrthoWorks people were there. We planted a lot of seeds about Rochester with the OrthoWorks group. Sue Elpserman, the lieutenant governor, was there. Amy put her arm around her and talked to her for I don't know how long, but
and she just confirmed that she's going to be our first speaker for the Women in Business.
wonderful, wonderful. Amy's got her coming for a speaker for her Women's in Business group here to Rochester. So lots of things going on, lots of things happening. To coin a phrase, or to steal some of Amy's thunder, I heard her speak the other day, and she was meeting with a site coordinator for industry down in Muncie, the lady that was on a site team, who told her when industries are looking for places to settle, you know, you hear about shovel-ready dirt, and you hear about spec buildings, and you hear about the labor force and all that. Yeah, and those are things that are necessary for that to happen. But she said, first and foremost on people's lists is the attitude of the community. If it's a winning, progressive, united community, most companies want to come and join something like that. I had never realized that or thought of that, but it's very, very important. So I think we're going in the right directions. The other thing I'd like to mention is that my daughter Tricia is here, as you all know. She won $19. All the folks I just mentioned, their motivation for being here today is they're all wanting to see our community move forward. Tricia's here to support her dad. Thanks, Tricia. And that's okay, too. Thank you very much. Oh, shoot. I'm here to report, ladies and gentlemen, that in 3.5 weeks, I'd like to tell you that the state of Rochester is in flux. We're in change. We have a new mayor. We have a new board of works. We have some members who are new to the city council. We're in a state of flux. Now, what I am here to tell you is that the principles and the direction that these people are bringing are being embraced by lots of folks who've been around for a while. And they're anxious to see some change. They're anxious to see some fresh air. They're anxious to see a new energy, a new vigor for Rochester. I was so pleased last night to be part of the dais, the city council, and seated with the 6 members there last night. Those members of the city council showed real leadership last night in embracing Mr. Pemberton and Mr. Williamson's Citizens Action Group on their fight against meth, and practically said that they were going to pass an ordinance to give them more support, to give our pharmacists better tools in dealing with the sale of meth and the screening of people who come into their stores. This is on the forefront of Senator Randy Head trying to pass a bill at the state level that would make meth a prescription drug. But as we all know, the wheels of government do not turn very fast. And even if it goes through without any stumbling blocks, and that's not assured because we have pill companies who are fighting it, the action that would give us the laws that we need would not go into place until 2017. So this group, this Citizens Action Committee group, who've stood up and said, not in our community any longer, have been tenacious in seeing that something happens sooner than that. And I'm happy to say the city council showed real leadership last night. And as Councilman Marty Smith was there presenting everything, and I'm so proud to say he's a classmate of mine. He's been on the committee, the Citizens Action Committee, and fighting along in the trenches. He was presenting the ordinance that had been presented to the council, or to the county council, and with some slight adjustments to the language, we're going to pass that thing, and it's going to happen in about a week. I'm confident of it. The other thing that was interesting about last night, Councilman Mark McCall, who's also a friend, turned to me and he said, and this is a quote, "I believe this action tonight is the most important thing I have ever done since being on this council." I think we made history last night, ladies and gentlemen. In the mayor's meeting that I attended, this subject was brought up 6 different times with 6 different mayors who approached me. We're being watched very carefully as to how this transpires. I know there are going to be people right on the tail end of our making this ordinance viable coming forward and around us in the other counties to do the same. Now, the big hitch has been, well, is this enforceable? The thing about it is it's written so that the statutory powers of enforcement are geared towards the pharmacists. It's making the pharmacists go through a certain routine before selling Sudafed to their clients. Well, it's the pharmacists who are coming forward to us in this community saying, give us that tool. Give us that tool. We want to be able to show it to the Smurf who comes in and wants to buy a carload of Sudafed. So I don't believe we're going to have a problem. This same council passed a resolution, or the former council passed a resolution to support the effort, and there have been no complaints over that. So we're moving forward. Now, with that being said, I'd like to have these 3 gentlemen rise right here. Are you all Kiwanians? No? No? Well, your leader, may I say he's the leader? Mr. Pemberton? Because he's the first one to ever come to me. Val Pemberton, who I'm proud to say I mentored under many years ago in business, is the father of this Citizens Action Group. So, and these 3 gentlemen are all involved. Would you stand and take a bow, please? Jim?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's on.
Okay. I'm sorry. So there's 4 right here today. But again, these people, you know, in the government world, in law enforcement, and Chief Schatz will tell you this, we tend to be more reactive, don't we, Chief?
Absolutely.
These people are proactive. They're standing up and taking action. I'm very proud of them. Thank you. Okay, let's talk about city financials. Correct me if I'm wrong, will you? Hey, I have yet to find that $10.2 million. I'm still looking. We're stable. Our finances are stable. That doesn't mean we're going to be reckless. We're going to be prudent. We're going to be vigilant. Because we're in a soft economy, ladies and gentlemen. No matter what anybody tells you, look at the stock market, look at what's going on offshore and around the world. We're still in a soft economy. So we're gonna kind of sit back and be real careful as to how we spend our monies at the city. We've still not completely figured out what the impact of losing a Dean's Milk is going to do for us. So we're going to be vigilant and watch those kind of things. Just because you budget a $10.2 or $11 million budget, we're about $11 million for this next year in our budget, doesn't mean you've got $11 million in the bank, does it, Shada? You don't have a savings account there you're sitting on with $11 million. Those are appropriations, and as the taxes come in, then you get to spend your monies, but may not come in. So we're going to be very, very vigilant and careful in that area. I've been very, very impressed with the assets and equipment that we do have in Rochester. Again, been riding with the police department. We have some very nice computers and patrol cars and cameras and such. And at the street department, we have the vacuum machines. And by the way, Lenny, I ran into the mayor of Gary last week, and she was inquiring about how a vacuum machine works and what. I said, wait a minute. Gary, you don't have a vacuum machine? No, she says, our citizens have bagged leaves for years, and we go around with a truck and throw them in the truck. We've just gotten to the point where we can get the money together to get a vacuum machine. We have 4 of them. So we've been very, very fortunate, and these things that we have are all better, give us better opportunity to serve our taxpayers here in Rochester. So we're very fortunate, but we're never going to take that for granted. We're going to keep that always in mind, that we're very fortunate to have those things. Very impressed with those assets. But the most valuable asset I've found in 3.5 weeks are the folks and the others who aren't here today, seated right here, our people. We've got some really good people at the city. And I'm just happy to be part of them. As I noted earlier, I've been spending a lot of time with the police department. We'll continue to do that, but I'm also going to be spending time with the rest of the departments. I've spent some time with Chief Butler out at the fire department. We've gone to some of the volunteer firemen's meetings and such, and we're going to continue to do that to get to know the system better and better and better, and the people better and better and better. I found our police officers in riding with them, and I've ridden, what, Andy, with about half of our staff now, found them to be bright and very passionate about their work. None of them have the attitude that I'm out to get you, which I think was kind of a false stigma that was thrown on some of our folks. It wasn't so much their attitude, but some of the programs maybe that were being imposed we were participating in. And we put a moratorium on the Operation Pullover program, which doesn't say it creates a quota for the officer, but they do expect X amount of contacts to be made. And those contacts are a pretty high number during a shift. And it's kind of a shotgun approach. It's the same approach they take in Gary that they take in Rochester, Indiana. Well, we don't have the number of people. So you got to be stopping a lot of people to make the contacts. So we're relaxing that. We're not going to do that any longer for a while and see what that does for our community. I really don't see a need for police officers to work any more aggressively just because they're under a program than they would in a normal day. And our officers are really good. They empathize really well with our folks. One of the officers, well, they are my officers. One of my officers the other day I was riding with, we saw a young man with a headlight out. And he pulled him over, and he came back and he gave him a warning. And he said, you know, Mayor Denton, I could have written him a ticket, but he says, do you have any idea how much it costs to get a headlight changed today? He said, this is not the era where you used to pay $5 and you could pop a bulb out and put it right back in. It may be $80, $90 just changing that headlight. So he says, I'm not going to complicate that young man's life by throwing a ticket on top of that. Now he says, if I see him in a couple of weeks and he's still that way, then we're going to have a real talk. I said, officer, that's wonderful. That is using your head. And that's what we have. We have officers who, at least the ones I've been in contact with so far, who understand that the most valuable equipment they're carrying around out there on a daily basis is what they have between their ears, not strapped to their hip. And that's what we want. That's what we're looking for. So kudos to you, Chief. You're doing the right stuff with those folks. And speaking of those folks, I want to mention a couple of the officers in particular, our senior officers. We've got Matt Campbell, Jim Reason, and Ed Haynes with a combined service in police work of 58 years. And these gentlemen are working with our newer officers and bringing them forward and creating the spirit of to protect and to serve, and passing these attributes on to folks like our newest officers, Tyler Denniston and Caleb Russell. And by the way, we're committed to keep exposing these people to our community. I know this is the Kiwanis Club, but Monday morning, Officer Chris Burton and I popped into the Optimist Club meeting. Now, Chris has been on board a year and 4 or 5 months. Yeah, and fine officer, fine young officer. Used to coach basketball at IUPUI in the girls department. Smart, sharp young man. Stopped in at the Optimist Club, talked to about 20 optimists. Got to know some folks. They got to know him. We're going to continue to do those things. Probably be popping into a Kiwanis meeting one of these days. We expect lots of happy dollars. At the fire department, of course, we've got Chief Butler running the fire department over there, and he's got some firemen around there like Ryan Murphy and Dan Melton, who have 27 years of service in a piece. Now, that's a lot of experience. Now, he's also got a very valuable group over there. He calls these volunteers, right, Chief?
Correct.
They're pretty important people. Because, you know, a 7-man full-time fire department couldn't handle all the duties of a major fire, correct?
Correct.
So our volunteers are our lifeblood at the fire department. And there's 30 of them. And they train right beside the regular firemen, and they learn everything that there is to know to be a fireman. And actually, within the last several months before my administration, one of them, Craig Smith, volunteer fireman Craig Smith, was recognized and honored, credited for saving a lady's life that was in a car accident. Pulled her out of the wreck just before the car caught on fire, right? At no concern of any danger to himself. He was right in the middle of it. Well, lo and behold, January the 19th, Dave Lawson, another young volunteer fireman, you may have read about him in the newspaper, was driving down Monticello Road in the wee hours. He saw smoke billowing from a house. Again, without any consideration of his own well-being, kicks in the front door and goes in and hauls 4 residents of that house out who would have surely died of smoke inhalation. These are our firefighters in Rochester, Indiana, people. They're getting some good training. They're getting a good basis and philosophy about what a fireman's all about. All of these people have service in their middle name, both police and fire. And how about a hand for the fire department? I know I'm pandering for applause a bit there, but come on, you know, we're gonna honor firefighter Lawson in the near future. Again, that's just something you don't see very often. We have other folks at the city, such as John Mitchell and Elizabeth Williams, working diligently and accurately with Randy. With Randy Williams here every day at the wastewater treatment plant, assuring that we are not doing anything to contaminate the environment. And that's an important program. We take it for granted, we tend to, because the service is always there. Very important, folks. We got Randy Wynn and Randy Carr taking care of our water department under the watchful eye of Derek Holloway. Where's Derek? There he, oh my gosh, right there. And, you know, if you ever get a chance to drop by our water plant, Derek would be greatly appreciative and happy to show you around. We have a computerized system down there that's second to none on processing water and making sure that every time you turn the tap, it's there and it's pure and it's ready to go. Unlike Flint, Michigan. Thank you, Derek. And then we have some other folks who are unsung participants that just are in the background all the time and we tend to take for granted. We've got Holly Chambers and Jody Miller working up there in Chief Shots area as dispatchers, working all hours. Very, very appreciative to have them on board. And Lenny Conley, the street supervisor here, he's got folks like Wade Conley and Tom Tyler over there at the street department under his watchful eye. And it's street department. Warren, I think you would agree with me on this. They're kind of taken for granted a lot, right?
Yep.
And these are the people that pick up leaves, sticks, they do the recycling, snow removal. I mean, you know, if they disappeared tomorrow, you would notice. But it's kind of like a good basketball referee. Nobody notices him if he's doing a good job. And that's kind of what happens. And Lenny, I wanted to thank you and Warren for your folks. Then we flip over to the City Hall. Now, boy, what a gang we got over there. We've got Carolyn Gray, and we've got Chris Bryant, and we've got Amy Stewart working with Shada on a daily basis there to make sure everything runs smoothly in the administrative area of the city. And they do a wonderful job. And they are truly the front line of Rochester. Anybody who comes to the office, those are the people they see. And they do a great job in greeting and handling people. And, you know, sometimes it's not the easiest job. You get people coming in who have problems with their water bills, or you get people coming in who want to complain about something that's happened on the other side of town with this or that. They're the first people that are seen. And they do a wonderful job at that. Thank you, Shada. You're doing that. I really wish time permitted for me to go through all 56 full-time members working for the city. I've taken a percentage of the folks, but I really, really appreciate each and every one of them. And I'm sure I'm going to learn more and more and more as time goes on. I wish to thank all of our citizens who have chosen to step up and take active roles in our government, our board members. That's a lot of times a thankless job, but it's an important job. We couldn't do all these things at the city level without citizen volunteerism. We want to thank those people. A thank you too to my colleague Casey Coles with the Area Planning Commission. She works for the county officially, but she interfaces with us all the time, a lot. Finally, a very broad thank you to all of our brothers and sisters who represent and work for the county. This is not city and county. This is us. We're all working for the same thing, the unity of the community, the progress and moving forward of the community. You know, one of my favorite stories about unity and being part of the all is about the Titanic. Do you know who the most surprised person was on the Titanic that the ship was going down? Anybody got a guess? Who was the most surprised over that?
The captain.
Everybody would think that. It was the bar manager. Well, let me tell you why. This gentleman walked onto this ship. He had the greatest bar in the world. Every liquor, every alcohol, every beer known to man was available. The facility was wonderful. Chandeliers, glorious. Had a staff that was crack staff. All of a sudden, you know, he's feeling great about the world. Things are wonderful. And he looks down one day. He's got water coming up over his ankles. He ended up on the bottom of the ocean through no fault of his own. The moral of that, or the lesson is, we're all in this together. There's no we and there's no they. We're all in it together. So in closing, just want to sum up that after 3 weeks, the mayor's observation of the city's situation is we have a lot of great assets. We have new trucks, and we have some snow plows, and we have leaf picker-upper machines, and we have all sorts of great assets. But again, the best asset we have are the people who are working for our city. And if you get a chance and you see any of them out and about, thank them, will you? Thank you very much. I would entertain some questions. Please know I just know where the bathrooms are right now. Robert? Senator Peterson?
Ted, what can we as the Rochester Kiwanis Club do to help move Rochester forward?
Just keep doing what you're doing. You know, you folks are all about service. It's amazing. Our youth still don't know a lot about the service clubs. This is what I'm hearing. The young police officer I was interfacing with the other day said, what is the Optimist Club? You know, what is that all about? Just keep advertising who you are, what you are, and keep inviting our young folks to get involved, because they're our future. Let's not kid ourselves. You know, they're the ones who are going to make this work down the road. We're just putting some guidelines in place. Anybody, anything else? Marty? Thank you very much again, ladies and gentlemen.